her little arms.
Yeah. Her dragonflies. She likes her dragonflies.
Mm.
She says that they are, um, her, her and her daughter say they're like little protectors.
Yeah.
Yes.
She last week was we was around there talking, and she's telling me.
Testing. 1, 2, testing. Ron, it's time to hush up.
Never.
He
Well,
she was telling stuff she did out there in Texas. I said that sounds like Kevin sound.
All right, Flintstone.
all right. All right, so a lot of this is going to be very similar. Um, Again, as we were saying to Ronnie, we're trying to uncover, as it were, some of the stories and the truths about Cabbage Town, especially coming from the people who lived it themselves. And y'all, I know, have had experience in the mill, and we are trying to figure out if you can remember any of the type of water sources that were around the mill and other parts of the neighborhood.
Best I can remember is when you go through the gate, uh, the main gate on Boulevard, you get just inside the gate, probably about 12 or maybe 15 foot. There was kind of like a big old square uh, concrete, had a grate on it, and you could look down in there and see that water. It was running just like a river. And I was told by my dad and some other people that it went under the cemetery and made its way either down to it wasn't the South River, but it was the Flint River. And I also heard that there's some branches that would branch off from it that would kind of run uh, kind of southeast and down where the Atlanta Dairies and would go off down through there, and then it crossed over the little old golf course over there called Key Golf Course, and they had a uh, big old sewer drain pipes, and some of them were just barely up above the ground enough that you could see them. That I think that took care of some of that, little branch off from that. But I'm just about sure that river is still there, just like it was when they built a mill.
So, when were you working in the mill?
I was 16 years old, and I was born in '43, so that's what about 59, maybe 60, along there. And you had to get a worker's permit, and of course I didn't work there long, but I worked there long enough to find out it was hard work.
So, if you could describe again a little bit more of the water that you saw, and what do you think it was for?
I think what they done is when they built the mill, at probably one point in time there, they probably used it to generate electricity. Now that's just my thought, but it was there was enough there to turn some turbines if they had them to use it. It would it turn enough to generate enough to run the mill on. That could uh, be my only thought. Uh, if you could go back, uh, maybe like to the Civil War, get some documents on the Civil, and get a map of the area, it would probably help you to see
Pull that chair out there.
where the creeks and the rivers and things like that was. I know I was told that by a real good friend of mine that during the Civil War, that right up here on at the end of Carroll Street there, the viaduct used to run all the way through there. But the Confederates had the ammunition and cannon stuff on the trains up there, and when they blew it up, it was just like the 4th of July going off up there. But I'm almost sure, son, that, and then occasionally people had wells around here, but you did have people with running water, but we didn't have no inside plumbing. You had outhouses. And then I say along maybe in the 50s on up and through the 60s, along back the 50s, the outhouses started phasing out, and then people were just getting the inside plumbing, so to speak. Then bathrooms was added on, but other than that, you'd see wells. Every now and then people in the neighborhood would have a well, and that was their, that was their supply of water. But to the ones that had indoor plumbing, you had pretty much running water, tap water as we called it.
Do you know if it was different street to street? Like some streets might have tap water and other streets might not?
No. Now I do remember the like I said, the little outhouses and things like that. I don't know exactly how they work, but I don't think they had like a sewage system to those. I'm not really sure how that worked, but I'm just about sure all your mill houses had the inside plumbing as far as your water, but as far as bathtubs and things like that, a lot of houses didn't have them. You had old number 2 wash tubs to take your bath in. And that's pretty much my remembrance. Of
Do you know, I was asking Ronnie this as well, do you know how people would fill their private wells, their personal wells?
My dad used to, he was pretty much a little fella that could do pretty much anything from well digging to, so I would imagine Dad helped do, a lot of well digging if there was any needed around here, but I don't know if people would call in someone that done the well digging, but Ronnie should remember the little house right here on, I don't know the address, but it's right next to the corner building here. It had a well, and it stayed back there for years and years. And we remember seeing it as a child. And that was a mill house, but it had a little well. And if I'm not mistaken, you can go over there now and still see the remnants of where the well was. They eventually just filled it in. So, but like I said, different houses, especially the ones that wasn't mill houses. I don't know exactly how the city of Atlanta, you had to get them to come out and put you in a line to where you could get your pipes run into your house. So that's what my dad used to do, the plumbing work.
Oh, can you talk about that a little bit? So people would what? They would have to
yes, sir. Just say for an example, like the house you all are in down there now, just say it wasn't a mill house. I don't know how the water supply was to them, but the city of Atlanta would come out and put you in like a meter. And from the street out there into the house, Dad would dig a ditch and put the water line and put it in to the house where you could have water to sink. But you still, you didn't have like indoor commodes and things like that. We have what they call old night jars, union jars, whatever they called them. But that was, then. But he would run the gas lines to he done, like I said, plumbing work, so he would run the water lines to the house from the street, and then he would run the gas lines up to the house, and it was a whole different era then. You had little round meters on the side of the house for your electricity. And a lot of houses didn't even have electric lights, you used lamps. But I pretty much say the people that had the indoor water supply like that was pretty much the mill houses. But I remember my dad putting in a lot of commodes and bathtubs and things like that in the houses when they were getting ready to build the bathrooms on them. They were always on the back of the house. And then they eventually got to where they would put everything inside. But that's pretty much about all I know about that.
So when the mill, at the time when the mill owned a number of the mill houses before they were sold off in the late 50s, did the mill have anything to do with supplying water to the neighborhood?
Well, sir, I think if my memory is serving me right, I would think that all the mill houses had maybe like what they call a kitchen sink. And what really and truly, I wish I could go back and describe exactly what the old sinks and all looked like, because each mill house had the same exact mantelpieces, water sinks in the kitchen, and like I said, that was it. If you had your outhouse, and you had your coal houses, and the places where the mill would, I'm all but sure, just as soon as the city got the water system in, the mill hooked up to it. But, outside of that, I would almost bet you they had wells to get the water supply.
Did you know anybody who may have worked in the boiler house with the steam engine?
The boiler room in the mill? No, sir, but I often wondered a lot of times in the boiler room if they had steam radiators to heat the mill, or because that's normally what a boiler room's for, just for your heat. And there again, if they, I'm sure they had electricity, but if there was a way to check in, that river probably had a lot to do with the supplying the electricity to the mill.
Do you recall any open creeks in the neighborhood when you were growing up?
No, not very seldom, but we wasn't allowed to get too terribly far from, we wasn't allowed to get too terribly far out of the area. But we do remember a lot of places flooding. Like, for an example, right here on Boulevard and Carroll Street, that would flood real bad. And then the viaduct over on Astoria Street would flood. And the one on Powell Street, it used to go all the way through, it would flood. And then you go down to Carroll Street, the viaduct going through there, it would flood. Now the one on Hill Street up there, we wasn't allowed to get that far up play, so I don't know if it ever flooded or not.
Now, why do you think it would flood like that, do you think?
Well, the sewer system back then, and still even now, it gets an excessive amount of rain, and it just backs up. So the drainage system can't handle all the viaducts at one time, because they went in, and there again, a lot of your drainage like that went into your rivers and creeks and things, like down here at Astoria Street where it crosses over Memorial Drive. They were really doing some drainage work down there to help relieve all this. And I wish that there was a way that you could find out about that river, because I always did wonder if where it come from, if it headed out. You know, a lot of times a big river like that can just head up, say out, just in a field, come up, and there's a way to find out. But I do remember every time I'd go through that main gate, I'd always walk up there and look down there at it and just imagine how fast that thing was running. You could almost feel the vibration of it. It was running that swift.
And what was the direction of the river?
Now, if you were coming off Boulevard and you turned right into the main gate, it was flowing like it was flowing towards the towards Boulevard, towards the cemetery. So, and I'm not for sure if you would say that would be west or maybe southwest, but I know it was straight flowing, because you could not only you could hear it and you could see it just running, gushing, man.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just hope maybe that I have give some kind of a right information, because history is something that everybody should try to remember, because it sure does help to reminisce and think back, because it brings back a lot of pleasant memories. I'm not saying times weren't hard, but it was well worth the living.
And if you could please wrap this up with, kind of like with Ronnie, if you could please tell us your name.
My name is Marshall Edwards, and I was born in 1943 at the Grady Hospital, and I've lived here ever since, except for a few times moving out, coming back. And it's just a great place to be then and even now. And anyone that comes in, if they feel as welcome as we do, they're at home.
Thank you very much, Marshall.
You're welcome.
All right. Y'all, thank you for putting up with us.